Welcome on into a Monday edition of the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carannante. I've been away on my wedding and mini moon. What I missed? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Everybody who thought Aaron Judge was going to be a Yankee when the offseason began still thinks it. Everybody who's predicting him to go to the Giants still thinks that. Anthony Rizzo declined his option. He got out there on the free agent market. Somebody went super viral for saying that him getting the qualifying offer meant he was coming back to the Yankees. That person got thousands of retweets on completely false information. Elon Musk's Twitter, everybody. But Thomas Carannante is here to catch me up on what I missed. Doesn't seem like all that much, but I'm here to get educated just as much as anybody else. We're going to talk about the one Yankees target who might have gotten taken off the board by something beyond the team's control, the slow offseason, how it's developing, and the Hal Steinbrenner interview that really held his feet to the fire, but also aired on the TV network he owns. So never mind. Make sure to find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Drop us those 5-star reviews. Drop us those mailbag questions in your reviews. Expand upon any thoughts you have. We're more than happy to answer your questions. Thomas Carannante, sorry I left you alone last week. Thanks for holding it down. I was on the beach refreshing my phone, getting tweets from 19 hours ago, getting push notifications from the New York Yankees when I woke up that said Aaron Judge signed to a $560 million deal. And I'm a smart man, so you know what? I don't think that's true, but doesn't change the fact that I shouldn't be getting those notifications. We're about to do a whole MLB offseason of this on Twitter, so that's great.
Yeah, really fun. And for the average fans out there, I'm sorry for you. It was kind of already a little. You got to be an experienced Twitter user to know who to follow and who to avoid. And now it's going to be very difficult to navigate those muddy waters. But yeah, you missed quite a bit. I mean, you missed quite a bit of nothing because you had Cashman talk to the media. What does he have to say? Jack shit. You have Aaron Boone go on the Michael Kay show and talk to the media. Jack shit. Hal Steinbrenner on his own TV network. I don't care what he has to say until something is done, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But mostly housekeeping stuff. A couple of qualifying offers out there. Picked up Sevy's option. Stuff we knew was kind of going to happen. Nothing momentous at this point. But you kind of look at the situation for next year. Oh man. What we do know, the couple of troubling things that we do know, which I can allow you to, I guess, get some anger off your chest, is there seems to be a ringing endorsement for Josh Donaldson to start at third base next year from everybody who has been to. And look, the defense is great. The defense is amazing. The defense saves runs, but the defense is also not worth $25 million. $25 million is on an AAV basis is reserved for all-around players. I know Brian Cashman couldn't really allude to anything else, but he did say Aaron Hicks is still on this team, and they hope that he bounces back next year, and that would be year 4 of hoping he bounces back, and that just can't be a realistic scenario.
Well, if he's a 25-homer guy with 20 stolen bases who hits 280 with great patience, I mean, that's a great ball player. Unfortunately, he's never done that in his life. Now he's 5 years removed from being half of that, and he's older every day and loves golf. So other than that, I don't see any holes in that logic.
Maybe senior tour for Aaron Hicks pretty soon. Very good golfer. And then there was the one thing that I took from the whole qualifying offer stuff was Cashman was asked why Tyone wasn't given the qualifying offer. I think we kind of all understand why. Tyone is a good pitcher. However, the qualifying offer at nearly $20 million for one season is a little bit steep. And then at that point, you would rather just have someone, you'd rather have Tyone on a multi-year deal, right? You don't want to handcuff yourself and sign him to the 1-year deal that's worth that much. Plus the Yankees still have to figure things out. You know, they have to bring back Rizzo and Judge. And we talked about the payroll situation. It's a little bit complicated. They picked up Sevy's option. That puts them around $210 million for guaranteed money next year. What's Judge going to make? Is Judge going to make that 36 to 40? That puts them at 250. What's Rizzo going to make? Another 20? That puts them at 270. Are they blowing past the Cohen tax threshold? I don't know, but that's what it's looking. Or they're going to have to unload some other salary, which I don't know how they're going to do it. But essentially, he was asked a question about Tyone, and his response was that He's fine with going into the season with a rotation of Garrett Cole, great. Nestor Cortez, great. Luis Severino, great. Frankie Montas, no. And Domingo Germán, no, as a starting rotation. So I understand the jury is still out on Montas. Somewhat, we got a bad shake of him due to an injury, it seems, and a change of scenery, which was very aggressive, going from Oakland to New York, and then going from the friendly pitcher confines of the Oakland Coliseum to a very hitter-friendly park in Yankee Stadium. Then you factor in the shoulder issue that he was battling before the trade deadline, hurt him after that. And I know Domingo Germán had a nice 15 games this year or whatever it was, but just give me a fucking break, man. You can go into the season with maybe those guys as starters, but that can't be your plan. Someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to do something and miss time. That can't be your definitive group of 5 starters if you want to win. Is that crazy? Am I wrong? I don't know. But those are the 3 things that really were, that stood out when he was talking on the podium.
Yeah, I don't have full faith in Montas, but I don't have no faith in Montas. I think he has to be a part of your rotation picture next year. I don't think Domingo Germán should be involved at all, and I think you need at least 2 additional start. Like, Germán is fine as your 7th starter, but Clark Schmidt, not impressive every time he started this year. Honestly, not that impressive out of the bullpen either. Like, for as much as we clamored for him, had his moments, but every time he had his moments, he was dancing out of trouble. A lot of 3-inning saves against the Kansas City Royals. Not anything where I'm standing on a soapbox being like, got to make room for Clark in the rotation, and certainly got to count him as like this year's Michael King. No, hopefully last year's Michael King is this year's Michael King. He's supposed to be healthy. But there's whatever outcome happens with Clark Schmidt, I'm going to understand it. I'm not advocating for him to get a role, promotion immediately. I'm also not advocating for his dismissal, but he can't be one of the guys penciled into your preseason rotation or into the 8th inning of your bullpen picture. Montas has earned a rotation spot, but if he's the last line of defense, that's also bad. Like, it can't be Montas goes down and then Germán or Schmidt pop into the rotation, or it can't be that one of those 2 is your automatic 5 starter and we don't explore multiple options. I enjoyed Jameson Taillon. I think he deserved more credit for his Yankees tenure. I think he won the biggest game of this season both times he was in the rotation, regular season, the game 163 against Tampa with an ankle that needed surgery. He gutted that out. Last year, about a month and a half ago, he made a huge start against the Rays to steady things during their September collapse. He also won the clinch in Toronto. He showed up more often than not, and he had to start game 1 of the ALCS, which nobody wanted after like 2 weeks off, and he was fine.
Should have won that.
He was kind of getting rocked, hard hit balls, off the charts. StatCast not happy with him, but can't really ask for much more from him. And if they had pressed the right bullpen buttons, you might go ahead and steal game 1. More importantly, if the offense had any idea how to get the runs they could have easily cashed in against Justin Verlander we would have had a different game entirely. Does not fall on Taillon's shoulders. I would like him back, but if I'm getting him back, it's going to be for 2 years at like $30 million or maybe 3 years at 44, not 1 year at 19 plus, which is what the QO does to you. You ask me in the middle of May if the Yankees are going to offer that to him on the off chance he takes it. I say, yeah, probably. They're willing to take that chance, but as the season drags on, he has his up and down months. He has, just like he did in 2021, he had this very hittable month plus where you're kind of like, how can this guy even be in the rotation? Then he bucks up, wins some big games again, and you start thinking of him as part of the fabric of this team. I think they could do better. I think that's the fact of the matter, that they don't want to pay him $19+ million for one season because they can do better in that spot. Not to say anything ill of Taillon's tenure in the Bronx. I'd do it again, but it's not like he really took that leap they saw him taking when he got here. They acquired a 4-starter with injury troubles who had never hit his ceiling for more than one season. They got a 4-starter with fewer injury issues, but still some, who was able to buck up when the moment demanded it, but was not a consistent, number 2 performer. There was all this stuff when they got him. Like, he might have the best stuff on the Yanks staff outside of Garrett Cole. And it's like, I don't think he did. He was fun. I enjoyed it, but ultimately not shocked they didn't offer him the qualifying offer. They obviously did it with Rizzo as insurance. They did it with Judge too. I'm not sure how to feel about where those two are at this point in time, but what I do know is that the qualifying offer doesn't usually get slapped on players who a team isn't afraid to have on the roster at that price for the next season. And that brings us to Joc Pederson, who has felt like a great Yankees bench candidate, left fielder, platoon guy for several years now with playoff experience. We've clamored for him at multiple deadlines, off seasons. He's like the power hitting Michael Brantley. This offseason felt like another prime opportunity for us to all talk about Joc Pederson coming off another good year in San Fran. And if they're going to chase Aaron Judge, of course, it would help if maybe we had, we were able to nab this guy. He's a free agent again, and he's got the qualifying offer. So the Yankees were to sign Joc Pederson, they would lose a draft pick. They weren't going to do it anyway, but now, come on now, there's no chance.
Yeah, let's clarify that they were never going to do this. So actually, this is kind of a good thing because now you can't get mad at the Yankees for not doing it. You're not giving up a draft pick for Joc Pederson, and then you got to overbid at that point because I think he's made in his career since debuting. I think he debuted in like 2014 or 2015. He's made $25 million since debuting. Now he's going to get almost 20 in 1 year. There's no reason for him to not accept that unless he were to get blown away with a multi-year offer, which the Yankees weren't going to do anyway. This is an unhinged move by the Giants. I know they have money to spend, I guess.
Right,
yeah, they do.
They tell you they do. Yeah.
Yeah, look, the universal DH has changed things. Joc had a career year, like from an all-around standpoint. He hit for average, great OPS, a lot of walks, home run. He had a good balance of all of it. But then again, good DH option, sure. Playing 81 games at Oracle Park, you saw his power numbers decrease as a result of that. If he was a speedster, it'd be a different story because if he's hitting gaps, he can maybe squeeze out a couple extra triples. Not going to be the case. So the Giants are just willing to spend $20 million for an above-average DH and a guy who can't defend. I think the Yankees might have been willing to get a guy like Pederson and sacrifice on the defensive end to give them that edge offensively that they lack from a clutch standpoint and just a go-getter standpoint. Pederson's made his presence known in the playoffs for how many years now on various teams. So it was an intriguing option for the Yankees. We had called for it for the last 2 years and didn't get our way. But I think this is a little bit of a nutty move by the Giants. Props to them, though, if they're building up a team to convince Aaron Judge to come by. If I'm Aaron Judge, I like the aggression there. Carlos Rodon got the qualifying offer, too. I think there's a shot in the dark he accepts. It's a lot of money for 1 year. And then he can, I don't know do you think that season was enough for him to play into a long-term deal? It probably was, but you just don't know what the pitching market's going to be, especially with people like DeGrom and Verlander ahead of you. I don't really know. Are there any other long-term options out there? So Rodon probably isn't going to accept, actually.
Yeah, that's why I think Rodon's going to take the long-term deal on the market. Yeah. Like, I don't know if you were impressed with his durability last year, but I do think there's sort of a dearth of options. Let me pull up the free agent starters.
Chris Bassett, but like,
it gets dark.
Yeah. But yeah, either way, I mean, I guess the Giants set themselves up, right? Because they probably were prepared to lose Rodon, and they said, all right, we'll keep Pederson and we'll just swap the money. And now we don't really lose our edge offensively, and we can keep that lefty bat. But yep, fully screws the Yankees. And actually, it's a blessing for Brian Cashman and Hal Steinbrenner because now we can't blame them.
Yeah. Rodon is the only guy on the free agent market who I would honestly want on this Yankees team, which makes the replacing Tyone thing all the more difficult because you're just looking at the list. Like Clayton Kershaw back to the Dodgers, great, but like, did you even want to spend $25 million next year on Clayton Kershaw? Certainly did not. The option's off the table. But Jacob deGrom, yeah, great. I mean, great, but no. Justin Verlander, you're seeing him connected to the Yankees more and more. But that was the same thing last year. So just don't buy that hype and then get got by the Ben Verlander tweet that says, my baby brother is going back to Houston. Okay, yeah, unfollowed. Nathan Eovaldi. Honestly, my favorite option out of all of these, but he's going to be honestly, there's no way the Yankees are the high bidder on oft-injured former Red Sox Nathan Eovaldi. Red Sox are also apparently offering him a multi-year deal. A lot of familiarity there. He's been with the Yankees already, and they had the worst of him. They did not unlock him. They had the Tommy John, Nathan Eovaldi. They had the 4 ERA and 220 hits and 190 innings allowed. Nathan Eovaldi. I would love to see him back in pinstripes. They're not going to do it. Noah Syndergaard, not good enough. Zach Greinke going to go back to the Royals. Sean Manaea, Kyle Gibson. Why are you paying money just to get the guy who eventually gets knocked out of a playoff rotation? Like, yeah, I signed Sean Manaea to a 2-year, $28 million deal. Yippee-ki-yay. And then the playoffs roll around, and it's like, how are we going to absorb the Manaea starts? Like, well, we're going to lose. We're either going to put him in the bullpen or we're going to lose those. The Padres didn't start him this postseason. The Phillies went to the World Series without starting Kyle Gibson. So not going to happen. Chris Bassett, Andrew Heaney, Corey Kluber, Tyler Anderson, Taijuan Walker. I mean, there's some solid 4 starters in here. I guess Taijuan Walker would be an improvement over Tyone. But then again, like the amount of money he's been looking for, like there were early projections of like 4-year deals for Taijuan Walker. Yanks aren't doing that. So you're either filling the back of the rotation with guys who are already here internally or 1-year flyers. Or Ken Waldichuk would be nice right about now. So would JP Sears. Because I'm looking at the free agent list, just like, let's say they get Sean Manaea. You have to game plan to get Sean Manaea out of the rotation by the time October rolls around anyway. So what's the point? Yeah, fine, 5-starter. But like, multi-year deal for that? No thanks. Just doing this pitching market tangent because we talked all about Tyone and how it was technically the right call, and it was, but there's nobody here who you feel confident in. You're going to have to beef up the offense anyway. Maybe Joc Pederson's where that money goes, and now he's just not going to be that guy.
Yeah, I don't know what to do. I really don't. The pitching is tough. I think if you're going to invest, I would go Rodon for how old is he? He's 30. I don't know how long it's a 4-year deal. You're losing theoretically Luis Severino after next season. You kind of got to prepare. I don't know how long the Nestor Cortez party is going to last. We only have 240 innings of proof of that. And you're always in the back of your mind with every pitcher. You're like, okay, regression could be on the way or injury could be coming. Garrett Cole's been a friggin' workhorse his entire career. Like, you gotta be looking over your shoulder for these types of things to happen. And someone like Rodon would be good insurance. I think your next move is, I'm not paying. The Yankees are not paying Jacob deGrom. Let's get that straight. If they're worried about injuries, and if they're worried about paying top of market price, someone's going to be giving him 40 to 50 million.
And they're going to get 12 starts out of it next year.
Yeah, and you're going to get I think the Yankees are smart enough to know that they have to avoid that. I don't want Verlander. If we get him, great. I just don't know if that's where the Yankees are going to sink their teeth in. So it's tough. Chris Bassett, I take on a multi-year deal. I'd like him in the back end of the rotation. But again, I saw projections of him getting $20 million a year on his next deal, which – that's like Zach Wheeler money. Zach Wheeler makes like $22 million a year. Are they the same pitcher? I just don't think so. So this is where it gets difficult. And this is where you admittedly, you want a move to be made, but then you look at the board and you're like, what move am I going to make? Aside from just signing Aaron Judge, just sign him now. Doesn't matter. Yankees playing a little bit of a dangerous game there. They're going to want the market to determine his price. They better hope the market isn't higher than what they had imagined. But, yeah, otherwise, I don't know. The moves are just bring back Rizzo, bring back Judge, and then I think you float some options on the trade market. I don't know exactly what that would be. Heard rumblings about Ohtani. I talked about it for a little bit in my podcast monologues last week. The Yankees trade package from the Athletics seemed a little bit crazy. I think if we called the Angels right now and said Gleyber Torres, Oswald Peraza, and Jason Dominguez for Shohei Ohtani, they laugh. That seems like the easiest. Like, why would the Yankees not make that trade? Yeah. They have outfield depth and shortstop depth in the minor league system. They don't. Gleyber Torres is at this point just above average MLB player from a production standpoint. So, and he's costing $10 million this year. So you look at the only way that we've talked about it before, there are 2 options here for the Yankees to figure this out, right? It's to blow past $290 million because if, like we said, if you bring back Rizzo and you bring back Judge, you're already flirting with 270 against the competitive balance tax number. Or you find a way to trade one of, well, let's rank the people you would trade here. Aaron Hicks, number 1, Josh Donaldson, number 2, Gleyber Torres, number 3. Those guys are all Gleyber Torres making $10 million. Aaron Hicks making $10 million, Donaldson making $25 million. Then you have DJ LeMahieu, who I don't think is tradable, and I also would like on the team because of his versatility and his bat. And then you get into the awkward conversation about trading Giancarlo Stanton, like we talked about at the beginning of the offseason, because that gives the Yankees more flexibility. I love Giancarlo Stanton. I've come around on him since being critical of that trade, but still not getting enough. I don't think we're ever going to get enough. He's going into his age 33 season, I think now. Party's over, kind of. You're gonna get what you're gonna get, 240 average, 25 to 35 homers, injuries that hit at the absolute worst time, and you're unable to kind of get beyond. Then a couple of clutch postseason hits while the rest of the team decides to shit the bed. So I don't know what the deal is. I don't know what the next move for the Yankees is, but you look at this and it's complicated. So I understand the hesitation here with maybe what the Yankees are willing to reveal, because I don't think that there's a clear path. Like, for example, do they revisit the Pablo Lopez talks with the Marlins? Like, do you talk to the Marlins after they did that shit? Do you talk to the White Sox about Lucas Giolito, who's a free agent after next year? Or the White Sox going to be able to sign him long-term? Like, a lot of weird stuff here, and you're staring down the barrel of the situation you don't want, right? The Yankees running it back and not improving. The Yankees running back this roster like they've done for 2-3 years now, thinking that it's going to be the difference maker, and then they lose they either lose to the Astros in the CS, or they get bumped early on in an embarrassing showing. So it's how better decide on that budget, like Cashman was saying at the GM meetings, because they got to figure it out now.
Early on in this offseason, I just can't shake the fact that, like, there are people who are higher level than us, right? We're fans. A lot of fans are sick of just getting into the dance mentality and of, building for what are they building for? Are they building for sustainable, dominance, or are they building for sustainable contention, which in their mind is 90 to 96 wins, and maybe you hit that lower end one year, and then maybe one year you hit that higher end, and they're at 98, 99, and then you have a better shot at steamrolling. But they just watch the Phillies have a tough year, fire a manager, regroup, win just enough games to get in, and then sandblast their way to the World Series. So there's nothing in recent history that's going to change the way the Yankees operate here, and people at higher levels are not going to be distracted in the same way that we are by shiny objects entering every season saying this has to be the year, this has to be the go for it year, because if it's not, I'm going to, sell my season tickets and stop buying chicken buckets to support Hal. And that's the kind of guy I am, that if they don't do it this year, I'm out. Then smash cut to March and I'm still in, and I'm buying tickets and I'm doing all the things I said I wouldn't do. The people at the top are not that reactionary. So you do start to worry about whether the best case scenario for this year is just something akin to running it back. If they do land with an Aaron Judge deal, if they do get Anthony Rizzo to join him, if they do sign Andrew Benintendi, then they patch together the back end of the rotation with some gibberish, considering Cole, Nestor, Sevy, Montas is certainly an above average rotation.
Yeah.
And if you've already spent the Benintendi Judge money and Rizzo money, then you don't want to go make a big rotation expenditure. There are holes in the bullpen. Maybe they fill some of those internally. Maybe a Will Warren and a Matt Crook, who just got projected, gets called up to be a lefty out of the pen. Then they trade him at the deadline for somebody else like they did with JP Sears. I don't know, but you can definitely talk yourself into maybe this upcoming season just isn't the year. It's just not one of the target years. It's one of the years where they tell Judge and Rizzo, we've got the budget to bring you back. We don't have the budget to do much more. Look at the cavalcade of prospects on the way. It gets better for us, but we're not going to lie to you. Next year is not one of the seasons we're targeting to be infallible. Maybe we sneak into the wild card. Maybe the Blue Jays end up winning the East this year. Maybe the Orioles take a huge leap. Maybe we get lucky but we probably don't. I can't help but shaking the feeling that the Yankees brain trust, the people who make decisions, are attacking this offseason like next year could be a step back no matter who they bring back, because they weren't supposed to win 99 games last year. Probably that was in the upper end of percentile outcomes. And then maybe this year, the best they can offer, bringing back that same core, hoping for upper 90s wins, probably getting fewer than that, and then really going for it when the next wave of prospects arrive.
Yeah, you look at the timeline too, right? You are Oswald Peraza, probably at the very least the opening day starting shortstop. Then you have Volpe, who Cashman said could be in the mix for the opening day job / starting job. He said starting shortstop job, but then what do you do with Peraza? Are you trading Peraza? Is one of these guys taking over at second? Peraza and Volpe have hardly played second base in their minor league careers. You get years of experience with those guys, and then you presumably maybe have Dominguez in 2024. Then you have guys like Donaldson, Montas, IKF coming off the books after that. Gives you a little bit more flexibility. So you get a full season of these core three prospects in Cabrera, Peraza, and Volpe getting ample time at the MLB level to prime them for the following season. And then the following season, you bring up another top talent, maybe in Dominguez, and a couple of the pitchers in 2023 to also get primed for 2024. And then you're looking at that. So I don't think, and you look at free agency as a whole, outside of the shortstop market, it's total whatever. Like it's total whatever. And the last thing that you want your team to do is splurge on the options that are good, but not exactly what you need. Like, am I against the Yankees getting a top shortstop? No, I'm not. I hope they would make the right choice in that endeavor. Then you got to trade. Then you have to nail the trade for one of your top prospects and ensure that you're getting the proper value in return. So it's
they never
a double.
do.
And they don't. And they don't. And teams, we've already talked about it at the trade deadline. Teams didn't view Volpe as highly as the Yankees did. Teams didn't view Peraza as highly as the Yankees did. So at that point, just keep them. You like the way they look. You think that they could be the future of the organization, so have that be your plan. However, we just wish the plan was put in motion and executed a little bit earlier, because these guys are clearly ready. Like, you look at the Fangraphs Anthony Volpe stat. First player since being tracked minor league stats since 2006. First person to hit 20 home runs and steal 50 bags in a season. Whether Anthony Volpe's trajectory in terms of all of his capabilities and skill sets, whether that is linear or not, it's already obvious he has the makings of a potential generational talent. So he has the 5 tools. If you're going to sit there and wait for him to burnish all 5 of those tools in the minor league system, then you're an idiot, because that doesn't always happen that way. Why would he be motivated to not? And this is just me speaking generally. Mm-hmm. Why would anybody be motivated to get as good as you could possibly be in the middle of Scranton, Pennsylvania? And that's like that. Oh, I'm working extra hard here to eventually get to the big league level. Like, no, you already proved yourself. You got to that level. You're doing all you can. The 22 game sample size at AAA didn't exactly blow your mind, but the highlights did. The highlights were pretty sick from Anthony Volpe. So at that point, he's probably ready. What more do you need to see him hit 300? I don't think so. So if that's the plan that the Yankees go through with, I think that's a smart one. You don't want to spend money that you need to spend to get more talent, but you're not going to spend on the wrong talent. And then the signing the high profile shortstop just makes this more complicated, because then fans are going to be pissed if you sign a Trey Turner and then you don't get proper return for any of the other guys that you've waited on for 3 years now. You've invested all this time into these guys, and if you're not getting all-star level talent in return and really having the roster take the next leap, then you just wasted everybody's time. And that's another conflict with this, I think.
Yeah, am I crazy for not wanting a top shortstop? Like,
no,
look at the deals handed out last offseason. I don't want Trevor Story. I don't really care what the projections say. I don't want Trevor Story clogging up my middle infield. I don't want Corey Seager for that long and that length of time. There are better options there are people who'd improve the Yankees' outlook more than adding Corey Seager at a huge dollar value to this roster when you do have to extend Aaron Judge. If they plan to let Judge walk, so it's a different question entirely. But at this juncture, when they seem to be pretty intent on bringing Judge back, having Corey Seager weighing down that roster is not what you want. 1 year of Carlos Correa last year, fine, but he doesn't have a long-term home yet either. I'm not sold on Trey Turner, certainly not at that price point. Stealing Xander Bogaerts would be very fun. They're not going to do it. Correa, I think the issue is I don't think the Yankees should go after any of these top shortstops this offseason, really, which is crazy because last season it was like we need to come away with one. The main issue is that getting Isaiah Conner-Vallejo and Josh Donaldson was also wrong. So I'm sitting here saying, I don't want Trevor Story. I didn't want that year of Correa. I don't want to have to make Corey Seager, my priority 1A. But at the same time, look how good the Yankees were last year with a defensive upgrade at third base who couldn't hit at all and who I still think was injured. But if he wasn't, that's even worse. And a shortstop who was a defensive upgrade who ended up being almost a downgrade from Gleyber Torres, who couldn't play the position. So the Yankees avoided several missteps last offseason in the shortstop market, but then made an arguably even worse mistake with where they allocated their money, which is why you can both defend them passing, but can't defend where they landed.
Michael Kay called out that trade as a horrific mistake, and I think we will all agree. And then you run into the question, are they going to non-tender IKF this offseason? He's due $6.5 million if they're trying to remain under the tax. A lot of money. I don't know.
They don't want to use him. They don't want to use him come playoff games. It's like Manaea in the rotation. It's
exactly.
We can we have a budget, but we can carry IKF all year. He's a nice guy. But then when the games matter, we need to find a way to get him off the field. Then why pay him $6 million?
Yeah, why? And of course, Ken Rosenthal's fucking column today. Will Dodgers and Yankees show more restraint in free agency? I don't know. Anyway, about free agency, we were graced with Hal Steinbrenner appearing on television for us. We needed this because what other update could we possibly desire? What other update are we searching for than straight from Hal Steinbrenner's mouth? He had a sit-down interview with Meredith Marakovitz. I don't know why. Here's the one thing that you could take away from it. It's nice of Hal Steinbrenner to do this. I don't think most owners do this. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't see many. Hal Steinbrenner has addressed the press a decent amount over the last couple of years. Him answering pointed questions about Aaron Judge's free agency, I think, is on a scale is on the admirable spectrum. It's probably on the lower end because he's not actually providing any information, but he's doing it. But at the end of the day, I think it's due diligence on his part rather than an act of benevolence to be like, hey, fans, here's the information you need to know. This is all the Yankees doing, right? They allowed Aaron Judge to hit free agency after he said time and time again he wanted to be a Yankee for life. They essentially threw him under the bus right before opening day by announcing the fact that he declined their extension. And here are the details of the extension. And they were pretty good, and we think they were fair. And we kind of agreed, hey, not a bad deal, but also who cares? Brian Cashman's excuse for that was that, the information was going to get out anyway. Why? Is that because you don't fucking trust anybody in your organization? Oh, I don't know. Okay, cool. So you're going to get ahead of it by setting setting all the vibes off right before opening day. Hal Steinbrenner comes on and he's asked a question about if Judge will be in pinstripes and if he's talked to him. He said he's had 2 conversations with Judge. He'll, quote, leave it at that. They were positive conversations. Don't know what that means. And then he said they're going to do everything in their power to keep Aaron Judge. And I don't know what that means because the only thing in your power is offering him the money he wants. There is no extracurricular here. I understand there is the business side of the game. There's the waiting game. You have to see who's offering what. You have to figure out what is fair. You don't want to bid against yourself because the Yankees are famous for also doing that. They did it with Garrett Cole a couple of years ago. So I know that there is an aspect of this where they need to tread somewhat lightly to avoid hamstringing their budget, which they've done countless other times with less superior talent. However, I don't know what everything you can to possibly do is. You have the money to do it. $6 billion organization let a money decision get in their way and put them in this precarious scenario that we're currently watching. Fans are legitimately worried he might leave. I think he's going to stay. I think a lot of the analysts and pundits and insiders who believe that, I think they're inclined to believe that for good reason. But would you rather have Judge checked off and then you could start looking for other things that you need because the roster is still very much incomplete? Or would you rather need all of those things and then still be uncertain about Judge's return? The only update anybody needs from Hal Steinbrenner or Brian Cashman is that Aaron Judge is signed. I don't need to hear anything else. I don't need to hear that you talk to him. I don't need to hear that you wish his mom a happy birthday. I don't need to hear that you got some new cool merch dropping for Judge for next year. Hopefully he returns because we got this new gavel that we're going to sell in the store. I don't care. The only update is that Aaron Judge returns, and that's the end of the story. I don't know why you need to pop on TV. I don't know why you need to talk to anybody else unless you're facing the press and the press is saying, hey, what's up with this? Cashman will give his half answers or his vague answers, which is fine. We're all accustomed to it, but we don't need these contrived moments of fake clarity where you're trying to give us information that doesn't actually exist.
I did like to hear that they're willing to up their bid from Judge's preseason proposed price of $36 million a year. That's really the only piece of information I have so far at my disposal that makes me feel any type of way in either direction. I don't care what Hal Steinbrenner has to say. I like that rumor. I like that they're growing more confident in the room by day. I certainly like that Judge was watching his wife run the marathon with Rizzo. I like all of that. I think a reunion for Rizzo and the Yankees makes so much sense and could pave a pathway to Judge reuniting with the Yankees. The notifications I'm waiting for are the Rizzo deal, which, like, honestly should come now. It won't.
That happens after Judge, I think. Don't you?
Really? I kind of think it happens before Judge to help lure Judge and prove to Judge that, like, hey, if we sign you, we're not letting your buddy go. He's not going to the Padres or Giants or Marlins. Like, you guys, we understand that you work as a unit. I don't know. I mean, maybe Judge is the straw that breaks the camel's back, but I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for that, and I'm waiting for Gleyber Torres is traded. Like, I don't know how we've gotten. Yeah, I don't know how we've gotten so far without that. Feels inevitable, and there was a bunch of stuff yesterday about how the Rays are moving closer on trades. You're going to start seeing some Rays trades over the next 48 hours. They already dealt G-Man Choi. The Yankees version of that feels like finding a home for Gleyber Torres, whether it is to Seattle, which is a place that makes sense and they love dealing with them. And Jesse Winker is reportedly available. Marco Gonzalez is too. Now, I think he stinks. I don't want any part of him, but the salaries match and whatever you want to do. I feel like Winker is a solid left field option, but I'd rather the Japanese player who seems to be a better fit, who's currently being sold as an Aaron Judge alternative when he should probably be an Aaron Judge supplement. I prefer Benintendi. I like Winker. I like what he brings to the table, but he was like a below league average player last year. Honestly, an offensive downgrade from Gleyber Torres.
He went to sad Seattle, though. Are you talking about Winker?
Yeah.
Yeah, he went to Seattle, so maybe he got a little sad.
Yeah, he had a 103 OPS plus. Like, you're looking for a bounce back. He subtracted WAR from his team. I mean, he was okay.
That's crazy. He's also never played a full season.
No.
Never.
110 games in his all-star season that you guys are all thinking of. He brings edge to the team. He's like it's a little Josh Donaldson-y without the implied racism. But I still don't really think I would make that Gleyber Torres for Winker straight up. But it does feel like a Torres trade is an inevitability. And we went all on the roller coaster all season long with, like, I thought he should be traded in April. I predicted he was going to get traded last offseason. I ate crow in May and June. Then he had the worst August collapse of all time. Then he was the team's hottest hitter entering the playoffs. Then he got sick, and then he never came back strong. And I just think there's too much middle infield talent in the future.
It never works.
And there's DJ LeMahieu still hanging out on the roster, who somebody I'd rather have on the roster. I'm sorry, I just would. So Gleyber Torres, it will probably be the first move of the offseason. Then it's a question of when they figure out Judge. We're in lockout mode still mentally a little bit. When people were making deals, when Kershaw was signing right out of the gate, I was like, what in the world? But then I remember that, December and January exist. It's not usually that in the offseason there's this big empty gap between the end of the season and the start of free agency and then the end of free agency. We're going to have moves in December. We're going to have moves at Thanksgiving. We probably need some to break the dam now. I don't know if it's going to be Aaron Judge right away, but like you said, I don't really care about any of the Judge rumors until Judge's name is on a contract somewhere.
Yeah, and I know you have to wait things out, but the Braves made early offseason moves. Why can't we do that? They did a salary dump for Jake Odorizzi, cleared up like $3 million in space. They signed Nick Anderson. Like why don't we do cool shit like that? The Cubs just released Jason Hayward, so maybe we do that.
Another subpar left field option for the New York Yankees to consider. He's somehow like 33. I feel like he should be 42 years old, but he's still young.
But I mean, you're seeing early moves be made. I don't know why the Yankees never make early moves, right? Have they made? When was the last time they made an early move that actually had I don't think there's been one.
I think people were circulating. They made the James Paxton trade like 4 years ago this week. It'd be nice to see something like that again, but not exactly like that. That was another one. People were excited about James Paxton. The advanced metrics are great, and everybody, who's grounded is like, yeah, I love James Paxton, but he never stays healthy and never lives up to his potential. Then we're like, oh, let's see. It's like, oh, he had an incredible month and a half, didn't stay healthy, and didn't live up to his potential. Great. Next. Would love to just acquire somebody who I understand all the ins and outs of, and I'm just like unabashedly excited. But instead, it's always somebody who you're like, oh, I mean, that might work for somebody else, but it's not going to work here, and then it doesn't work here.
It's weird to me because the Yankees have the power to not have to wait for the free agency market to normalize or for the trade market to normalize. You've already seen it. Steve Cohen, whether you agree with Edwin Diaz's contract or not, he just fucking did it. He said, you know what? I want him back. I'm going to defer the money. I'll pay. It'll count less against the luxury tax. Like I'll do it now. I'll figure it out later. Braves making trade, signing guys coming off injury for, hopeful flyers, like just doing it fairly quickly to get ahead of some things because they know that theoretically when the market normalizes, that usually means you could be at a disadvantage. Either the players that you wanted are gone or the trade prices for some of these players were elevated. Like, look, the Yankees maybe didn't get, I don't know. Let's use the Luis Castillo example just hypothetically. Maybe if the Yankees asked about Luis Castillo earlier before the trade deadline, they don't run into a situation where the Mariners come back, they get all their they get on this win streak, and then they're willing to overpay like a bunch of psychos and then outbid everybody else. So instead of that's a situation where theoretically you could be waiting too long to wait for the market to establish itself. And then someone's like, nah, fuck it. I'm going to jump to the front of the line. I'm going to pay a lot more because I want to. And I know that I'll kick all you guys out of the bidding and it makes my life easier. So maybe just get ahead of it and be a little bit extra aggressive. I don't know if that's possible. We've talked at length previously about the Yankees struggles on the trade market. There is a Yankees tax. We've heard from a couple insiders that that's actually the case too. So I don't know, but more times than not, it's just passive. It's passive. It's waiting. It's, what's going to come to us? Spoiler alert, nothing is. Nobody really wants to come here anymore because of the media, because of the fans, because of the taxes probably. And it doesn't make life any easier for you when you have to go after high-profile targets and keep your players and also supplement the roster with other talent. So maybe just get ahead of it for once. I think there's still time. You got like a couple days, maybe start figuring it out. Maybe.
Aaron Judge moved to Tampa, so maybe San Francisco is no longer his hometown. Maybe he wants to stay home in Tampa, Florida, and sign with the Rays. Who knows? I certainly don't know. We're still waiting for the dam to break anywhere at all. Wondering which Rays will go somewhere else and who they'll replace them with and how they'll win 97 games next year. Ooh, I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm on tenterhooks. I can't wait. The New York Giants are 7-2. Maybe it's football season for you. It's football season for us. The Jets are nearing first place. The Rangers are okay. The Knicks are on the road to being a catastrophe. We're just waiting for that baseball offseason to really click. Has not clicked yet. Until next time, when it hopefully will. We'll be back on Thursday with hopefully with more information and less anger directed at the Hal Steinbrenner and the totally innocent Hal Steinbrenner interview that aired last week, but really accomplished next to nothing. We're looking for the info. We're waiting, and we'll give it to you as soon as we got it. Until next time, I'm Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib. You can find the podcast wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and live on YouTube, streaming 2 o'clock Eastern time, Mondays and Thursdays, all off season long. Thomas Carannante, where can the people find you?
At Tommy's_takes, baby. Having fun, but need something to happen. Gotta start chatting with people. Let's come up with some crazy scenarios. It's my favorite part of the offseason. Head on over to yanksgoyard.com. We got plenty of content there for you. Talk to us on the official Yanks Go Yard Twitter account at Yanks Go Yard FS. We'll talk to you next on Thursday. And guys, Adam's going live on the Baseball Insiders podcast with an actual baseball insider, Robert Murray, at 3:30 today. We're going to plug that in. You guys head on over there. Just stay on YouTube, find the link, click it. There probably will be some Yankee storylines in there, I assume, right?
Oh, yeah.
Today?
I plan on it. I mean, you don't have to go far. It's the same website, just a different channel.
Let's do it.
You'll find us. You'll be there. All right. Until next time, I'm Adam Weiner for the Yanks Go Yard podcast. We'll see you on Thursday.